We just enduring. We brothers.
For you. Fat. Big script rocker. Yeah. Big tour where you get the wisdom and the knowledge. 140 for the top number, 6 dollars. This that gotta live forever, gotta have that. This that ain't about the Lord and they can have that. This that only do the script, so what they mad at? Catch me walking through the fire like I'm Shadrach. As long as that Ruah be with me on his last lap, I know it's coming to a close like some hazmat. They thought they had them streets of gold, we took our ass back. I got insured on these ducks like I'm Affleck. I just endured on these smucks, went through all that. Hey, y'all esteem to Yahuwah for them laws, man. See 13 ounces in my system, drunk a tall can. I keep on boasting in Yahuwah so we all can. On the same righteous mission, screaming never switch. Even though they really did, I kept it all. Yeah, you say you got the word, what you doing with it? Are you sitting on the talent, are you babysitting? At first you hear the word, then you gotta live the word, you gotta live it. When you talking about the truth, do you really live, you live it? When you look into them words, do you really feel it? At first you hear the word, then you gotta live them words, you gotta live them words.
You gotta live them words. Don't tell me that you love me, gotta show me it's a verb. Indeed, I testify we had to get it off the curb. And the fact they overlooked us only proves that they absurd. Toasting with my ox, we raising up that Henny. We teach the 1/3, less is more, so it's plenty. A lot of lessons learned, a lot of bridges burned. I thought I had some friends, they turned out to be against me. We waiting on our king, but you gotta watch for Judas. A lot of meditation and prayer is how we do this. I'm cleansing out my temple of filth just like a Buddhist. And when it come to loving my people, man, I'm the truest. Just looking back on my life, these scriptures took my pain away. I came to the light and watched the darkness fade away. Applying myself, I double my wealth. We gon' praise the Most High while His Son deliver the help. Yash.
Yeah, you say you got the word, what you doing with it? Are you sitting on the talent, are you babysitting? At first you hear the word, then you gotta live the word, you gotta live it. When you talking about the truth, do you really live, you live it? When you look into them words, do you really feel it? At first you hear the word, then you gotta live them words, you gotta live them words.
Daoud. Yes. Stay righteous, Israel. Yeah. You know I would say my name on this intro, but I feel like everybody does that.
Jamie on the beat, boy.
And I ain't everybody. Special.
TNMG. Threw that old man away, no longer Jave. It's how I feel.
Whether they love or they hate
Hey, tell them I'm back.
whether they boo or they praise me, you know I ain't gon' let it faze me. It is what it is. Whether they ride or they vanish,
Hey,
you gotta always understand this.
I told you
I'm gon' live by these commandments. It is what it is.
Meanwhile, in my city, South LA, ain't no mercy, ain't no pity. I'm an Israelite, that other shit don't fit me. These niggas conscious, I don't know why they don't get me. Mature line, conversation different. Got a problem, I'ma have a conversation with you. I don't blow, but yeah, I drank a little. No Facebook, we could face the issue. I speak the truth and now you wanna fight me, but no, I ain't alone, I'm with the Almighty. like me. Portraying them the shit, I swear that don't excite me. If they lock me up like Jama, I can better write me. Can't hardly trust these camps, some of these leaders shiesty. If you ain't keeping these laws, homie, don't invite me. Ops ever try to take more than my ID? Tell my nephew Uncle Drew like Kyrie.
Whether they love or they hate me, whether they boo or they praise me, you know I ain't gon' let it faze me. It is what it is, whether they ride or they vanish. You gotta always understand this. I'm gon' live by these commandments. It is what it is.
You with the team for real. Young lions on the roster, show them how to build. You can give a J game, but you can't give them zeal. Drop the top, let's cruise the city, that's just how I feel. LA baby, product of the 80s. Brought up in that Christian church, the preacher couldn't save me. They was banging in my hood, I'm glad I made it safely. So many homies dead and gone, can't say it never fazed me. 38 special like a snug nose. Industry niggas on these hoes, but I don't love those. Jury mine is barely dripping, but I does flow. I told you, priest, I think we finally got us one, bro. I've been at this for a minute, no record deal about this truth, I think we winning, all the struggle, all the danger, I done been in, all praises to the highest, I'm still living,
Whether they love or they hate me, whether they boo or they praise me, you know I ain't gon' let it faze me. It is what it is, whether they ride or they vanish. You gotta always understand this. I'm gon' live by these commandments. I'll do what I can to keep you satisfied. I'll put on a dress, I'll even clean my mess from the inside. They say it's for the best to just comply when you can tell it's right. So I'ma fix my attitude in my head cause I'm down to ride. I know that you the realest, and I'm the trillest. If we ever get on one accord, we'll kill it. You and me were meant to be, it's obvious. And for you, I just switch. So all I'm saying is, please don't switch up on me, cause I switched up for you. And I switched up my number, so you know that it's true. I guess leaving up from everyone ain't enough for you. So what can I do? I said, please don't switch up on me, cause I switched up for you. And I switched up my address, so you know that it's true. I hope leaving out from everything is enough for you. Cause what can I do? What else can I do? I said, switched up for you. Switched up for you.
I switched up, we hooked up, what's up, down view, always true, waiting for that kingdom come. I switched up, we hooked up, what's up, down view, always true, waiting for that kingdom come.
Yeah, I switched up the show, threw my old life away. Picked up a Bible, I threw my sassy ways in the trash. I am not white, I'm not looking back in the past, trying to wither away like grass, so I threw away my pants, put my head wrap on. Sweet little sweet cherry, it come and carry me home. Why y'all lost it and I'm gone. Script sealed in my dome, I give my life to you. Most high, I gave my life to you. Let's ride.
I live my life for you, and everything that I do, you know I die for you. Give my life for you. Please don't get it twisted, wasn't easy to do. It's like I'm living in a different world that I never knew. I've been lied on, talked about, ridiculed, rejected. My friends say I'm crazy, but I don't care, all because I switched up. Is it enough? Tell me what's up, cause I'm down for you, yeah.
Please don't switch up on me, cause I switched up for you. And I switched up my number, so you know that it's true. I guess leaving up from everyone ain't enough for you. So what can I do? I said, please don't switch up on me, cause I switched up for you. And I switched up my address, so you know that it's true. I hope leaving out from everything is enough for you. Cause what can I do? What else can I do? I said, switched up for you. Switched up for you.
I switched up, we hooked up, what's up, down view, always true, waiting for that kingdom come. I switched up, we hooked up, what's up, down view, always true, waiting for that kingdom come.
If you
since I've been listening, and it's got me on my grind. But can you be the one I need? 'Cause what I want, I really need right now.
We can work it out if you put your heart well first.
Let's do it right now. Take your time, oh yeah. Keep the love is around. If you
All you gotta do is
take your time, courting, take your time, do it right. Keep the love is around. You can do it right.
It's real simple. I like you and you like me. Let's be official. Be the head and lead a flock, baby, that's fine. Supporting the head, ready to be your neck and spine until the end of time. Your pillow of rest when you need it. A teacher to our seed when we concede it. A voice of reason when it's needed. But it's levels to this if you believe it. A couple pre-marriage conditions. If you want me, you gotta seek out my parents' permission. They may approve or maybe give us conditions. Then let us court to prove each other's intentions. And as time goes on, our love is captured and all the responsibilities mastered. Be ready to step in the final chapter. Fairy tale ending, happily ever after.
What kind of Christian are you with your beard shaved off? What kind of Christian are you without fringes, brother? The Most High gave you a beard. What would the lion be if he shaved his beard off? He'd be just like the female lion.
When you see them beards and fringes, know we come to handle business. When you see them beards and fringes, know we come to handle business. When you see them beards and fringes, know we come to handle business. When you see them beards and fringes, know we come to handle business. I'll be on.
Shalom Israel. Welcome back to our monthly Q&A. Maria, Yashima is going to be joining us in just a moment. So you guys know what this is. This is the platform and the opportunity. If you have questions, if you have curiosities, whether it's about the doctrine, whether it's about the life of an Israelite, whether Even if it's a personal thing, maybe the Most High has something on your spirit that's kind of been bouncing around for a little while, and you're not really sure. You're looking for, how to go about it. So you're looking for a sense of direction according to the scriptures. This is the opportunity for you to ask those questions and to voice those concerns, to be able to seek answers. Others don't know everything, but we answer according to what we do know.
And then also too, those who are tuning in on YouTube, Facebook, thank you for the continued support. Continue to share, also like, comment, subscribe to the page, so we can continue to spread the message to the four corners of the earth to get it to our people. So, like the brother's going into, this is another Q&A segment. So please, if people have any type of questions that you may have, it doesn't matter what religion you're in. If you have questions concerning the Bible, please post them. We will do our best to answer them. But again, this is not a platform for debate. So one question that I do see from Shalam Yasharahla says, is this true? Gelatin, glycerin, monosterate, tallow, rennet, mono and diglyceride enzymes, collagen, emulsifiers, gel caps, keratin, and hydrolyzed protein are traces of pig. I'm not sure about all of those, but what I will say is it's important that we do our research. Let me get one scripture really quickly. The book of Sirach, chapter 5, and verse 15. Because you'll see a lot of information, getting bounced around the internet, especially in forms of meme about what's clean and what's not clean. All you got to do is just Google, Bing, whatever, to the best of your research. The information is free for the most part, because sometimes you have traces of gelatin where it can be from a pig or an unclean animal, and you also have instances where it comes from beef, which is a clean animal according to the scriptures. So you really just got to call, and sometimes you can even contact the manufacturers on the website, or they got a phone number you can call to contact them to get that information. Plenty of people have done it. Can you get that for me, though, 5 and 15?
Sirach chapter 5 and verse 15. Be not ignorant of anything in a great matter or a small.
So the scriptures is saying, look, don't be ignorant in just anything, especially if you have the opportunity and ability to educate yourself on that matter. Your mic is low. Speak.
Mic test.
You got any scriptures for that you wanted to bring out? Yeah, so some of those things definitely can have traces of that, but for the particular food that you're reading the label off of, again, you want to reach out to that manufacturer and see. Let me see here. Did you have any questions, bro? Cool. You see anything else on Facebook? I don't see anything on YouTube, but I think there's one on Facebook. Let's see. Yes. Yeah, that's what I was just reading right now. That's not even a question. This brother's over here trying to teach in the comment board. Brother, don't do that. If you have a question or if you want to dialogue with us, then that's one thing, but don't teach in the comment section. Hashmai, sis, I appreciate you sharing the class like you always do, putting in that work. Brother Zachariah said, if this is true, gelatin, glycerin. Oh, you were restating it. Okay. Oh, that was you posting it. Sorry about that. Yep. Well, as soon as questions come in, we'll answer them. Guess in the meantime, we just gonna talk.
I was gonna say one thing, Israel. Make sure that you guys, because as many people. Well, let me say this: as many doctrines as there are out there, surely there are a lot of questions. Even if it's something about something that you think makes sense, but hasn't been confirmed, or a lot of those things just kind of becomes hearsay. It's very easy to take, who a person is, their you see a certain scholar kind of demeanor about them, and they say something and they put something out there, and it's not really verified, but you believe it's true because of the person or whatever the case may be. Make sure that you're asking those kinds of things and actually confirming, because the scriptures say, real quick, let's go to First Thessalonians chapter 5, and let's get verse 21.
The book of First Thessalonians, chapter 5, and verse 21, it reads, "Prove all things, hold fast that which is good."
He said, prove all things. So with everything that we're learning and everything that we're, all the information that comes across or that you come across, make sure that you're proving that information. Like the brother was going into, a lot of stuff, like especially if you're new in the truth, a lot of stuff gets shared on Facebook, on social media, memes. There's this one popular picture that always circulates that's like, all these products have pork. And it's like grape jelly, toothpaste, chips. It's all these different things. And some of those things, okay, they have the potential to have pork, but some of those things, it's like, well, where is it? If people are spreading that kind of information, give me something to go off of. Give me something to go and prove these things. You can't have some kind of established doctrine or, putting stuff out as life and death, and it's just a feeling. It has to be proven. And then he says, hold fast that which is good. He's talking about the law. So in all the things that we're living by, that we're holding ourselves accountable to as far as standards and understandings, make sure that you're proving those things. It's a lot of information in Israel, and very much of it is inaccurate. So, this is the opportunity. If you don't have a platform or even aren't in a space to where you have teachers that to go to, ask brothers. We're gonna give you answer according to the scriptures and according to righteous judgment. All praise to the Most High. Don't be afraid to ask. So the brother asks, what's the stance on reincarnation? So reincarnation and regeneration, for one, those are two different things. Like reincarnation is kind of like more of a Buddhist doctrine that you can be a human and then come back as a grasshopper, and then you come back as a blade of grass. That's not what the scriptures say. It shows us regeneration, which pretty much is where someone comes back in another life, but with the same spirit across two different times. You have that example with, what I'm looking for with Elijah. Khan, can you get that for me? 'Cause you have an instance where in the scriptures, Elijah came back as John the Baptist, and he came back. So he was a man in one life, he was a man in the next life. He was a righteous man, and he continued on in that. But he didn't come back as just any old thing or any random object. It was that same spirit, just hit two different vessels. Hold on, bear me 1 second. I'm gonna get that for you.
There's a couple of different examples. We'll get this one right here. Yeah, no, give me John chapter 9. So as the brother explained, you know, when we die, the scriptures say our spirit goes back to the Most High, and then he just throws it back into the earth to come back through another vessel. And let's read this. John chapter 9 and start at verse 1.
John chapter 9 and verse 1. And as Jesus passed by, he saw a man which was blind from his birth.
So this person was born blind. Go ahead.
And his disciples asked him, saying, Master, who did sin, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?
Go ahead.
Jesus answered, Neither hath this man sinned, nor his parents, but that the works of God should be made manifest in him.
So they were saying, what happened with this person to where he was born blind? And then Christ had said nothing happened to him. He was born this way so that basically I could perform miracles on him so that the Spirit of the Most High could be glorified, right? But the key thing was he said, who sinned, this man or his parents? Because we know that according to scriptures, our kids can be punished for some of our sins. But they asked from this person, did he sin? How would this person sin if he was born blind? So that lets you know that he was probably here in a past life, and now he's receiving judgment for his past sins. And then we can see that, I believe, in the book of Exodus, where it says the Most High will punish the generations.
3rd and 4th.
Yeah. Give me. I think it's Exodus chapter. Go to that one. You could use that as an example. Go ahead.
Deuteronomy chapter 5 and verse 9. Thou shalt not bow down thyself unto them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God.
So he's just letting us know again about idolatry, and then this is the punishment for it. Go ahead.
Visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the 3rd and 4th generation of them that hate me.
Exactly. So it's the same thing. That punishment can be carried on. So it's not a situation where if you came in as an Israelite in one life, now you're going to be born of another nation in the next life. You're still going to come back as an Israelite, and the same for all the rest of the nations as well. They don't cross over or come back as different dogs and cats and things like that. You still come back as a human.
So sister asks, do we wear fringes every day, all day, even at home? Let's go over to Numbers 15. So some people say, oh, I'm just at the house, I'm just kind of chilling. I put on a regular shirt that I sleep in or whatever. It doesn't have on fringes. Am I in sin? The scriptures do say that we're supposed to have on our fringes so that they're a reminder, and it doesn't really specify when, and it doesn't say, ever gives the takeoff. It doesn't ever say, like, this is when it's cool not to. So my advice is, if you have night shirts or things that you sleep in, put fringes on them. It's no harm, no foul. Just always be in that, always be in compliance with the law and always be in the spirit. And then as you have, clothes that kind of wear out and become less fresh, they're not something you wear in public, then they're your night shirts. And because you've already been going out in them, then they've already got fringes on them. Numbers chapter 15 and verse 38.
Numbers chapter 15, verse 38. Speak unto the children of Israel and bid them that they make them fringes in the borders of their garments throughout their generations.
Throughout their generations, okay.
And that they should put upon the fringe of the borders a ribbon of blue. And it shall be unto you for a fringe, that ye may look upon it and remember all the commandments of the Lord and do them, and that ye seek not after your own heart and your own eyes, after which ye use to go a-whoring.
So the thing that always stands out to me is verse 39, where he says you're supposed to be able to literally physically look at your fringes. A lot of people, you have different doctrines that come up. Oh, fringes are spiritual. I'm above that and all this other kind of stuff. They're literally supposed to be your physical reminder that whenever you look at your fringes, you're supposed to be reminded of the covenant that we have with the Most High God. I feel like that's even more of a priority to do when you're at home and by yourself. That's when I feel like, stuff really happens. When you out and about and you are focused or you have somewhere that you're going or something that you're doing, it's a lot harder to get sidetracked and get caught up in some BS. But if you're at home by yourself, you just scrolling on the, scrolling on your phone, scrolling on the gram, and you're doing whatever it is that you do without anyone there to kind of have that sense of accountability, then that's more of a reason that you should have on your fringes to not deviate from what the Most High has called us to do. Because he said, your eyes, that you seek not after your own heart and your own eyes, after which you used to go a-whoring. Like that's self-explanatory. We literally become, we go after our own lusts and whore after these things with our eyes. So that's all the more reason that you do need that physical reminder at that time. So I would say absolutely. Keep your fringes at all times.
Good breakdown. And then, some people have things that they go by, and others, the whole thing is we want to make sure we're abiding by what the Most High says. But we also don't want to forget this, because sometimes you're not always clothed. What if you're chilling without a shirt on, right? You're relaxing. It's a hot day. Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy chapter 11. Because a lot of people forget that we're not only supposed to have a physical reminder on our clothing, but we're supposed to have it in our homes as well. Go to Deuteronomy 11 and start at verse 18.
Deuteronomy chapter 11 and verse 18. Therefore shall ye lay up these my words in your heart and in your soul, and bind them for a sign upon your hand, that they may be as frontlets between your eyes.
Right. Most High said he wants this law to be everything we think about, the main thing on our mind. Go ahead.
And ye shall teach them your children, speaking of them when thou sittest in thine house.
So when you sitting in your house with your kids, that's the time you're supposed to be talking about the laws and the commandments, not BET and the foolishness of this world, right? Go ahead.
And when thou walkest by the way.
And if y'all just out and about, why not make your conversation holy? Keep it about the law of the Most High. Read.
When thou liest down and when thou risest up.
Right, before you go to sleep and when you wake up, man, thank the Most High. Talk about his law. Read.
And thou shalt write them upon the doorposts of thine house.
So literally, when you walking out your home, you should have a physical reminder of the laws. That's the last thing you should be seeing when you walking out, right? And then when you out and about, boom, you looking down, you got your fringes on, and you represent. People know, okay, that's an Israelite. That way there's no confusion, right? If it's a sister, they got the skirt, the head wrap on. If it's a brother, we got our beards. We masculine, they already know what's up, right? Go ahead.
And upon thy gates.
And upon our gates. So we're supposed to have the Most High's commandments all throughout our building, all throughout our heart and our soul. All right, Israel? Yes. Well, let's go to the.
Sister asked, do we wear fringe? Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. Is it okay to sew on the Sabbath as long as it's not to sell? So, if it's not for any type of work, is the actual act of sewing lawful? Well, first, let's look at the regulations of the Sabbath. Let's first go to Exodus chapter 31. Exodus chapter 31. And we're going to start at verse 13. We're going to go down to 17.
Exodus 31, verse 14. Ye shall keep the Sabbath, therefore, for it is holy unto you. Everyone that defileth it shall surely be put to death.
So he said, you shall keep the Sabbath, therefore, it's supposed to be holy, set apart unto us, and anyone that defiles it, the punishment is death. Go ahead.
It says, for whosoever doeth any work therein, that soul shall be cut off from amongst his people. 6 days may work be done, but in the seventh is the Sabbath of rest, holy to the Lord. Whosoever doeth any work in the Sabbath day, he shall surely be put to death.
So this is the law, right? We know we're not supposed to be doing any work, any kind of, extra strenuous, what do the scriptures call it?
Servile work.
Servile work. That's like slave labor. We know we're not supposed to be doing any of those things on the Sabbath.
As well as, cooking and things of that nature, right? And then it goes in to talk about how you cannot buy or sell. That's all ways you're going to defile the Sabbath. And we also have, go to Mark chapter 4. And I believe I'm on verse 3. Because a lot of times what we find ourselves doing is being over righteous, right? Sometimes brothers be putting stipulations out there, and that's not really according to the law. So we always want to try to answer, as just as we can according to the law. Now, read this. Mark 4:3.
Mark chapter 4 and verse 3.
I don't think that's what I want. 3 and 4, my bad.
Mark chapter 3 and verse 4. And he saith unto them, is it lawful to do good on the Sabbath days, or to do evil, to save life, or to kill?
Right, so we know it's not that serious, right? But here's the thing. At the end of the day, you're doing something that's according to the law. If you just needed a shirt, you getting ready to step out for the Sabbath day, and you got to put a fringe, border of blue on your shirt. I don't see in the scriptures where anybody got damned for doing that. We can see in the scriptures where people got, in trouble for selling and buying and working on the Sabbath and cooking on the Sabbath, but never for applying the law. And then that's where we get into this example. It said, look, is it lawful to do good on the Sabbath day? I wouldn't recommend the Sabbath be the day that you didn't waited all month, right, or all week, and now you got 25 shirts that you got to put fringes and a border of blue on. But if you just need one just to get out the house, then I can't personally see the sin in that. But, if that's something that pricks your soul, pricks your heart, then don't do it. It's that simple. You got 6 other days to put, fringes and a border of blue on your clothing. But that would be our stance on it. And that's something that we are still collectively talking about. So if we do come to a different decision, then we'll go ahead and, update you guys with that as well. Next question.
Can we use a crock pot on the Sabbath to keep food warm?
No. No, you cannot. Let's go to the book of Exodus. Chapter 35, and start at verse 1.
Exodus chapter 35 and verse 1. And Moses gathered all the congregation of the children of Israel together, and said unto them, these are the words which the Lord hath commanded.
So this isn't what True Nation is saying. This is the Most High saying this. Go ahead.
That ye should do them.
6
days shall work be done, but on the 7th day there shall be to you an holy day, a Sabbath of rest to the Lord. Whosoever doeth work therein shall be put to death.
So we see how serious the Most High takes his Sabbath day. Read.
Ye shall kindle no fire throughout your habitations upon the Sabbath day.
Now why? Let's go earlier into Exodus, right? Where the Most High gave us other stipulations concerning the Sabbath. Go to Exodus chapter 16 and verse 20. So the Most High said you cannot kindle a fire on the Sabbath day. Go ahead.
Exodus chapter 16, verse 20. Notwithstanding, they hearkened not unto Moses, but some of them left of it until the morning, and it bred worms and stank. And Moses was wroth with them. And they gathered it every morning, every man according to his eating. And when the sun waxed hot, it melted.
So this is the Most High giving the instructions to the children of Israel again. Go ahead.
And it came to pass that on the 6th day they gathered twice as much bread, two omers for one man, and all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moses.
So they had to gather double on that 6th day, because the Most High was providing things for them to go out and get all the rest of the week. But he said, look, on this 6th day, get double, because I'm not going to be providing this on the Sabbath day. Go ahead.
And he said unto them, this is that which the Lord hath said. Tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath unto the Lord. Bake that which ye will bake today.
So he said tomorrow. So it's on the 6th day. Tomorrow is the Sabbath. So make sure anything you want to bake, anything you want to cook, do it today on the 6th day. Read.
And seethe that ye will seethe.
If you need to boil something, go ahead.
And that which remaineth over, lay up for you to be kept until the morning.
You see that you're supposed to lay it over. You're not supposed to continue to bake it or keep it on a fire. And that's why he said you cannot kindle a fire. You cannot kindle a fire to cook on the Sabbath day. Some people will say, so if it's 20 degrees outside, I got to freeze? No, turn your heater on. It's okay. Don't die. But you cannot cook on that Sabbath day. So concerning a crock pot, no, you're essentially cooking your food, keeping it warm. What I suggest, if you got something, the scriptures say lay it out. Man, lay it out. Put it in the sun or something, the sun to keep it warm. Put it in your window in your kitchen. The sun will shine on it, keep it warm. But no, do not put it in the oven, a crock pot, a microwave, none of that. You got anything else?
No, I think it's
Let me see if there's anything on Facebook. Nope. Oh, I think that was the parable in Ezekiel. Let me see. The Most High is 2 wives, I think.
Brother asks, what scriptures can we use to explain spiritual fornication? So, great question.
So I believe I want Ezekiel chapter 16.
Con.
And before we go to Ezekiel, let's go to the Apocrypha. I believe on Wisdom of Solomon. Yep, Wisdom of Solomon chapter 14 and verse 12 and then verse 27.
Con. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14, verse 12. For the devising of idols was the beginning of spiritual fornication.
And Bishop Tazaiwan actually went into a very in-depth and great lesson on idolatry, because idolatry is not as simple as some people would like to paint it out to be. It's like, oh, this is it, and I just worship this. No, we in a whole different day and age where a lot of people, they set up idols in their mind, and the scriptures talk about that as well. But go ahead.
And the invention of them, the corruption of life.
Now drop down to read verse 27.
For the worshiping of idols, not to be named, is the beginning, the cause, and the end of all evil.
Right, because when you get to the very root of idolatry, it has everything to do with you and the decision you made, right? Whatever it was that you chose to indulge in that was sinful, you made yourself a god at that point, because you said, I want to do what's best for me. I want to do what's fulfilling for me, right? So you have the scripture telling you that there is spiritual fornication. Now we can see an example of that here in Ezekiel chapter 16 and start at verse 1.
Ezekiel chapter 16, verse 1. Again, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, cause Jerusalem to know her abominations.
So the Most High said he wants Israel to know our abominations, the things that we were doing that was hateful, read.
And say, Thus saith the Lord God unto Jerusalem, Thy birth and thy nativity is of the land of Canaan. Thy father was an Amorite, and thy mother an Hittite.
Now this isn't actually true, but the Most High is saying this to make a point, read.
And as for thy nativity, in the day thou was born, thy navel was not cut, neither was thou washed in water to supple thee. Thou was not salted at all, nor swaddled at all. None eye pitied thee, to do any of these unto thee, to have compassion upon thee, but thou was cast in the open field.
So the Most High is making an example of Israel, basically saying, look, this was the state you was in when I found you. You was this beat up, dirty broad on the side of the road nobody was really dealing with. But he said, now look what I did for you. Drop down and read verse 8.
Now when I passed by thee and looked upon thee, behold, thy time was the time of love, and I spread my skirt over thee, and covered thy nakedness. Yea, I swear unto thee, and entered into a covenant with thee.
Right, because we are the children of Israel. Our forefathers is Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So the Most High is being poetic about the children of Israel, just basically saying like, man, you was like this woman that I loved. I found you. You wasn't nothing. I built you up. And then this is what you go and do to me? Drop down and read verse 26.
Verse 26. Thou hast also committed fornication with the Egyptians, thy neighbors, great of flesh, and has increased thy whoredoms to provoke me to anger.
Because our people is in all types of idolatry. Even to this day, our people are still stuck in Egyptology. They still living in Egypt, right? Mentally and spiritually. So the Most High said, anytime you entertain any of these other gods, you cheating on me. That's spiritual fornication, right? Go ahead.
Thou hast committed fornication with the Egyptians, thy neighbors, great of flesh, and has increased thy whoredoms to provoke me to anger. Behold, therefore, I have stretched out my hand over thee, and have diminished thine ordinary food, and delivered thee unto the will of them that hate thee.
So let's go over to 2 Corinthians chapter 11. So that's one instance where you can see the Most High talking about it. And then there's another spiritual instance as well, because we are also in a relationship with Christ. And actually, before I get this, go to Jeremiah 6:3. Because for some people who don't read the Bible, you don't know that the Bible is very poetic. And sometimes you have to get precepts to explain other precepts. So this one will do that real quick. Go ahead.
Jeremiah chapter 6, verse 2. I have likened the daughter of Zion to a comely and delicate woman.
So you can see in this passage, the Most High is saying, if I'm ever talking about a certain woman, it could be the children of Israel, because I'm looking at them as a comely and delicate woman, right? Now go to that 2 Corinthians chapter 11. and verse 1.
Second Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 1.
Uh-huh.
Would to God ye could bear with me a little in my folly, and indeed bear with
Look
me.
what Paul about to say. Go ahead.
For I am jealous over you with godly jealousy.
You see, so we talking about a godly jealousy. We just read about how God gets jealous. Read.
For I have espoused you to one husband, that I may present you as a chaste virgin to Christ.
So look at that. That's the role that Israel plays towards Christ. We're the bride of Christ. So if we start messing with these other gods and these fake deities, Christ's looking at us like, man, you committing fornication. That's unlawful. And there's many other examples in the scriptures, but I hope that brought some understanding to you, whoever asked the question. I don't have anything on Facebook.
What is marriage according to the word?
Oh, okay. You want to start off?
Let's go to Exodus chapter 22.
It's the book of Exodus, chapter 22, and verse 16.
Uh-huh.
And if a man entice a maid that is not betrothed and lie with her, he shall surely endow her to be his wife.
So it says, if a man find a maid that's not betrothed, so she's not already promised to someone else, and he decides that he's interested in her, he lies with her, meaning that they have intercourse, then surely that's his wife, right? It says to endow, which means to give the, let me give the exact definition. Basically, it means to give the due benevolence, like the proper O.
Right, making it right.
To make it right. And then as far as, now, are you asking what is marriage as far as consummation? And then there are also different aspects to marriage. We don't have to go super deep, but let me get 1 Timothy chapter 5 and verse 8. Yes.
It's the book of 1 Timothy, chapter 5, and verse 8.
Uh-huh.
But if any provide not for his own, and especially for those of his own house, he hath denied the faith and is worse than an infidel.
So the scriptures also talk about how a man has to be a provider, right? So a lot of people look at this, and when we hear the word provide, we always think financially. It's not just the financial aspect. Yes, that is an element of it, but a man is also what? He's the head. And the way that I always look at that, first off, your head always makes decisions, right? Your brain. As well as your head, when you talk about the tip of a spear, the top, the head of the spear, it's also the first thing to dive or to make that impact. So the man is going to be the leader. He's going to be the decision maker. He's going to be the counselor. He's going to be, a woman's mediator in between, with her path of salvation if she is married. A lot of what she's doing for the nation is how she's going to be treating her husband and how she's dealing within her household. All right? So you have sex being marriage, and then you have being a provider. What is marriage according to the word?
Right. Okay, no, you can still do that. I'll just get myself afterwards.
And I just want one more in Ephesians. Ephesians chapter 5, let's start at verse 25. Mm-hmm.
It's the book of Ephesians, chapter 5, verse 25.
Actually, let's start with 22. Let's get it in order.
Verse 22.
Uh-huh.
Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands as unto the Lord.
So the first thing he says, the wives, right? Submit to your spouse, your husband, as unto the Most High. So unless it's something that's wicked or something that is against the law, you should be in total submission to your husband. Whatever it is that he, the decisions that he's making, the moves that he's making, you should be in full support. And if it's something that you don't agree with, if there's a platform for open conversation, it should be it's a certain approach that has to be applied there so that it's respectful. Go ahead.
For the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, and he is the Savior of the body.
Uh-huh.
Therefore, as the church is subject unto Christ, so let the wives be to their own husbands in everything.
And so that's one of the things. Christ he doesn't just have this name and this position that just holds weight because of the name. It was actually the works that he did and the sacrifices he made to Israel. All that he did his entire life was for the benefit and the betterment of Israel. He didn't even really have a childhood, so to speak. People are devastated by children that don't get to just be kids, so to speak. Kind of just involved in nothing, playing all the time, being kids. Christ sacrificed that. He said, he was in the synagogues. Know ye not that I must be about my Father's business? From an early age, he was concerned with Israel. Then in his actual adulthood and his adolescence, he contended with the Pharisees. He was teaching amongst the people. He started healing. He was doing all these things in the interest of Israel. When it was time for him to be crucified, he didn't even open up his mouth. He said, man, of course I could do damage. I'm choosing not to. Then in his last breath was still like, man, forgive them because they don't know what they're doing. So a husband is going to be in that same mind frame and same spirit. He wants what's best for his wife and ultimately what's best for the nation. You're part of that nation. You're part of his household. He chose you to help him build a legacy. So he has that kind of care and compassion. A proper husband is going to have that kind of care and compassion for his wife, right? And it says, love your wives even as Christ also loved the church. Actually, I'm sorry, get verse 25.
Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it.
So that's all the things that embody what a husband's going to be, right? And then drop down to verse 28.
Verse 28. So ought men to love their wives as their own bodies. He that loveth his wife loveth himself.
Go ahead.
For no man ever yet hated his own flesh, but nourisheth and cherisheth it, even as the Lord the church.
So while the woman is being submissive, the man is also, it's not just a total running over her. You still, as Tobit said, or actually it was Tobias, when he got up after being married from his wife, he called her his sister in his prayer. You guys are ultimately, your husband and wife, but you're brother and sister in Christ. I'm going to lead you, follow me as I follow Christ. I'm going to do my best to adhere to the Most High's commandments, to follow in the footsteps that the King left for us. And during that time, the wife has to be in submission to the husband, trusting that that's what he's doing. That's why the scriptures say, be continually with a godly man, right? Go ahead.
Verse 30. For we are members of his body, of his flesh, and of his bones. For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall be joined unto his wife, and they two shall be one flesh.
So he says, this cause, a man leaves his mother and his father, he's joined unto his wife. So that's what marriage should ultimately look like. Two should become one. So that's why it's important for that submission to be in the household, because if it's, anybody, or especially with the women still acting as an individual, it's not going to mesh well with the household. If a man's not willing to lead, he's not willing to provide, he's not willing to teach, it's not going to mesh well for the household. Everybody has their roles and their positions to play within the house, and it's supposed to all be in righteousness. That's the ultimate factor that determines that success or the failure.
No, definitely some good points from both sides of the spectrum. Usually when people ask this question, I think they're kind of looking for the main one, like, is it sex that does it, or do you need the paperwork? Because most people say, well, not even most, I don't know, I think it might be split. He added it on there? Oh, there it is. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and get to it, some of these examples. People need to understand the union of marriage is not only a contract between that man and that woman, but also between that man and that woman and the Most High, right? And that's the same reason why a woman bleeds when she loses her virginity, because that's actually a blood covenant that's being made with that man and that woman being honored by the Most High. It has nothing to do with the state, has nothing to do with the country or government that a person is living in. So let's get a few examples. First one, Genesis. So let's go to the beginning and see how things was going, because we know the Most High doesn't change. Let's go to Genesis chapter 24. And start at verse 61.
Genesis chapter 24 and verse 61. And Rebekah arose and her damsels, and they rode upon the camels and followed the man. And the servant took Rebekah and went his way. And Isaac came from the way of the well, Laharai, for he dwelt in the south country.
So we dealing with our forefather and our foremother, Isaac, right? And Rebecca. Go ahead.
And Isaac went out to meditate in the field at the eventide, and he lifted up his eyes and saw, and behold, the camels were coming. And Rebekah lifted up her eyes, and when she saw Isaac, she lighted off the camel. For she said unto the servant, What man is this that walketh in the field to meet us? And the servant had said, It is my master. Therefore she took a veil and covered herself.
Right, because she had been sent for, right? Go ahead.
And the servant told Isaac all things that he had done.
And this is right after our foremother Sarah had passed, right? So Isaac, he was in his feelings. You know, he just lost his mother. You know, he's obviously upset. And now he has this beautiful woman who comes into his presence. Go ahead.
And Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent and took Rebekah.
And he took Rebekah. We all say, oh, I took her virginity. That's what happened. He took her. They became one flesh in that tent. Go ahead.
And she became his wife.
Who signed off on that? What government official or what, you know, church building they have to go to get that documented that they were married? The Most High clearly said they got married in that tent. She became his wife. Read.
And he loved her.
And he loved her. So that right there lets you know that the consummation is what seals the deal with the marriage, and that's sex. That's why even after the ceremony, and we'll get an example about that, you know, generally after the ceremony, the couple is to go into the marriage chamber and make the wedding or the union official by having sex. And then afterwards, there was tokens of that woman's virginity where the husband would bring the sheets out to show the father, like, look, you gave me a good and upright woman. She is a virgin. Here goes the blood to show as a token, right? Let's go to the New Testament and deal with Mary and Joseph. And actually, before we do that, I want to get the definition of consummate. So this is the definition of consummate. It says, complete in every detail, perfect. It says, to make, and then in quotations, a marital union complete by sexual intercourse. And then it says, to make perfect, to become perfected, achieve. So a lot of people would argue, oh, a marriage isn't complete without, you know, having the situation wrote down on a piece of paper and a contract. That's not true. It's not. Generally, people did document those type of things, and you can see that in a lot of the older Bibles. If you go look at your grandparents' Bibles and things like that, a lot of people was getting those contracts written down in the Bible. But it's not necessary because, as we can see, according to the definition and according to scriptural evidence, having sex is what makes that union complete. That's what sparks it, right? And then you also have instances where a woman, if she's espoused to a man, if they're betrothed, right, and she ends up sleeping with somebody, that's a situation of adultery because she was promised to another man. So it's just crazy how people will sit here and try to say that sex, you know, really doesn't play a part in marriage when that's completely not true. And let's get the quick example with Mary and Joseph, where because you don't have to have a ceremony. That was my reason for going here. Let me see. Go to Matthew chapter 1. And yeah.
Matthew chapter 1 and verse 18. Now the birth of Jesus Christ was on this wise. When as his mother Mary was espoused to Joseph, before they came together, she was found with child of the Holy Ghost. Then Joseph, her husband, being a just man and not willing to make her a public example.
Right, a public example, meaning he didn't want this thing to get out, like, because remember, traditional weddings happened where there was feasts involved, right? And sometimes the feast lasted weeks, depending on, you know, who the people were that was getting married. So it was, you know, traditional for the feast to happen, and then they get married in the marriage chamber. But dealing with the situation with Joseph and Mary, we know that the Most High put the Spirit upon them, and they ended up having sex prematurely and starting their marriage early. So it said Joseph, being a just man, he didn't want them out there looking bad, like, oh man, family already had plans, and we looked like we was just horny and couldn't wait, right? But go ahead.
But while he thought on these things, and then Joseph, her husband, being a just man and not willing to make her a public example, was minded to put her away privately. But while he thought on these things, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared unto him in a dream, saying, Joseph, thou son of David, fear not to take unto thee Mary thy wife.
Right. So he said, look, I know you guys, kind of broke protocol, but don't worry. You're not in sin. There's a scripture that says that, I believe, in Corinthians, where it says if they want to marry, let them marry. They didn't sin, right? But there is traditions that people do like to uphold. But go ahead.
For that which is conceived in her is of the Holy Ghost.
So the Most High had to send an angel to comfort Joseph. Like, look, don't worry. It's going to be okay. And you got something special cooking in the oven. All right. Was there any other examples you wanted to bring out? Cool, cool. Next question. That's the last one.
Well, that's it. The audience is on the questions. I'll use his last one.
Did you have any other questions, brother? You good? Buddy getting tapped in. I love it, man.
So, question on YouTube: why can't we cook on the seventh-day Sabbath? What scripture is that? So let's go over to Exodus chapter 35. Excuse me. No, 35.
Yeah. Exodus chapter 35 and verse 2. 6 days shall work be done, but on the seventh day there shall be to you a holy day, a Sabbath of rest to the Lord. Whosoever doeth work therein shall be put to death.
So he keeps reiterating, you got 6 days to do whatever it is that you need to do, handle whatever business you got to handle, but that seventh day is specifically set apart for us to be able to rest, right? And meditate on the Most High. Go ahead.
Ye shall kindle no fire throughout your habitations upon the Sabbath day.
And he says, you shall kindle no fire throughout your habitations upon the Sabbath day. So no, we are not able to cook, right? And like the brother said, it's not like if you're in a freezing terrain, you literally can't make a fire, but you're not supposed to be using it in the sense of cooking.
Exodus chapter 16, verse 22. And it came to pass that on the sixth day they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers for one man, and all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moses. And he said unto them, this is that which the Lord hath said. Tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath unto the Lord. Bake that which you will bake today, and sieve that you will sieve, and that which remaineth over lay up for you to be kept until the morning.
So, and you look at a concordance, because a lot of people, they try to debate, well, microwaves went around, well, this wasn't around, well, this is new, well, this is different. But the scriptures, if you go into the concordance, for seed is H1310, a primitive root properly to boil up, to be done in cooking, right? Specifically talking about cooking. Figuratively, to ripen, bake, boil, bring forth, roast, seethe, sod, or be sodden, which is like to boil it. So it goes over all the different ways of you being able to cook something. You're not supposed to be cooking anything on the Sabbath.
And you said the other one was about the new moons? Why you can cook on a new moon?
It says, why can't we cook on the Sabbath, but we can cook on the new moon?
Right. Okay, cool. So when you start looking into the feast days, the Sabbath is still a feast day, but it's a little bit different because you see the clause where it says, no manner of work shall be done. You don't see that for these other feast days, right? Let's go to the book of Leviticus, chapter 23, and I think I want verse 7. Oh, no, that's not the one for new moon, but read that one real quick, though. It'll show you the difference. Read.
Leviticus chapter 23, verse 7.
Start verse 6.
Verse 6. And on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto the Lord. 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. And the first day ye shall have an holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein.
Right. So, as an example for this feast, this is a feast that you can cook on, and you see this one it specifies no servile work. But go back to the Sabbath one in Exodus. It's clear. It says no servile work. So things where you clocking in for somebody or you doing some legitimate business, that type of work is not allowed. However, the work for preparing for the feast, cooking, cleaning, and things of that nature is okay. That's not servile work. Read.
Exodus chapter 35, verse 2. 6 days shall work be done, but on the 7th day there shall be to you an holy day, a Sabbath of rest to the Lord. Whosoever doeth work therein shall be put to death.
You see, that one says if you do work, and I believe in Exodus 20 and 6 it says, or 28 it says any work. So it specifies that part, right? And then if you get Numbers chapter 10, go ahead and read verse 10.
Numbers chapter 10 and verse 10. Also in the day of your gladness, and in your solemn days, and in the beginnings of your months.
So our new moons are to be celebrated. Go ahead.
Ye shall blow with the trumpets over your burnt offerings, and over the sacrifices of your peace offerings, that they may be to you for a memorial before your God.
Exactly. So you can see the new moon wasn't a situation where the Most High said no work shall be done. It was still a thing where brothers was getting together. We were feasting just like any of the other feast days. Actually, go back to Leviticus 23 because one of our feast days is a double feast day. It's a new moon and also the Feast of Trumpets. And I believe that is Leviticus 23 and whichever one is trumpets.
Leviticus chapter 23, verse 24. Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, in the 7th month, in the first day of the month, shall ye have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of trumpets, and holy convocation.
And let's see what the stipulation for this was. Go ahead, because it's still a new moon. Read.
Ye shall do no servile work therein.
And there it is, servile. Let's get the definition of servile.
I got it.
Go ahead.
Oh, of or befitting a menial position. And menial specifically means
goes into a person doing menial work, domestic jobs and things like that, of relating to servants, appropriate to a servant. So again, going into any type of position where you're now legitimately working, that type of work is not cool. But cooking is, because it's a feast day and it's okay. Next question.
If you work as a firefighter or a doctor or are on call as some kind of emergency response job, can you work that job on the Sabbath?
Well, when you start getting into the business of healthcare and things of that nature, it becomes a little bit different. It's not to say that you assume the role of a Levite or something like that, because that was the role that the Levites played in our nation. You know, they were the doctors and things of that nature. When people needed to be circumcised, if that baby, his 8th day was on a Sabbath day, they would still do those circumcisions on the Sabbath, because again, the scriptures go into, is it not lawful to do good on the Sabbath, to save a life or to lose life, right? So if you're a doctor and things like that, paramedic, then, you know, I can't sit here and say that the Most High is okay with you breaking the Sabbath to do your job. However, your job requires some different perspectives, right? That's different from the person who's a barber. You can choose not to go in, but if you're a doctor and someone needs heart surgery on the Sabbath and you're the only person who can do that, you know, I don't see in the scriptures where the Most High, again, would put you to death for a situation like that. But there's a lot of in-between stuff that becomes tricky, because a lot of those jobs have policies that you need to follow that requires you to break the commandments of the Most High. So if you got a situation where you're still in compliance with the law, then, you know, all praises. But no, I don't think you'd be sinning if, you know, that's what type of job you had and you had to work the Sabbath. But, you know, let's get that just to be safe. The Most High doesn't give license. You're right, exactly. Got to give that one out there, because Israel take that and run with it. I believe it's chapter 5. You got it?
Ecclesiasticus chapter 15 and verse 20. He hath commanded no man to do wickedly, neither hath he given any man license to sin.
Exactly. So you still on the grace of the Most High dealing with that. You know, we supposed to be keeping the Sabbath day regardless.
And let's go over to Matthew real quick. Matthew chapter 12 and verse 11. So, you know, obviously, like the brother was explaining, you know, if you're a healthcare professional, there are certain times where you're, like you said, the Most High gave no man license to sin. But imagine, like, if someone was to be mortally wounded, somebody gets into a car accident, they're bleeding, they have a major injury that, if it's not addressed, could cause them their life, right? You wouldn't just hide your hands behind your back like, well, it's the Sabbath, I can't do anything. You know, you're going to have to wait until hopefully you can hold on. You know, that's why Christ gave a balance. Right, it's not that extreme. Christ gave a balance. Matthew chapter 12 and verse 11.
It's the book of Matthew chapter 12 and verse 11. It reads, "And he said unto them, What man shall there be among you that shall have one sheep, and if it fall into a pit on the Sabbath day, will he not lay hold on it and lift it out?"
So he said, which of y'all, if you have a sheep that jumps into a pit, you're not going to stop everything that you're doing and manage to pull it out? And even, you know, there's a whole lot of possibilities to explore with that, because is it simple? Is it deep? Can he jump down there and just hoist it up, or does he have to get some rope? Right. It goes into all those kinds of things. But read on to verse 12.
"How much then is a man better than a sheep? Wherefore it is lawful to do well on the Sabbath days."
So he said, how much better is a man than a sheep? If you'll do all that for your animal, how much more should you be able to do with an actual human, especially being your brother? Now, the one thing is, don't abuse that, don't violate that. This was it's talking about a life or death emergency, something where if it's not addressed, like I said, it's not like, oh man, you know, it's a Sabbath, try to hold on. If that person really can't hold on, there's got to be someone to be able to help them or heal them. And that's why Christ gave that balance.
Exactly. And there's a need for it. You know, there's a difference from running, you know, a fried chicken shop compared to working at the hospital.
Definitely.
Yeah, you know, healthcare and everything is not supposed to be a business like that. That's why the Most High still had a need for that. Babies being born every day, you know, I'm pretty sure this baby's born on the Sabbath. They got to be delivered. But next question.
I heard some people don't keep the new moon as a Sabbath. Why do y'all say we can't buy or sell on the new moon? What scripture is that?
Let's go to the book of Amos, chapter 8. And you can start at verse... Start at verse 4.
Amos chapter 8, verse 4. Hear this, O ye that swallow up the needy, even to make the poor of the land to fail.
Right. Everybody who's just too concerned with business and don't know how to rest, right? Go ahead.
Saying, when will the new moon be gone?
So when will the new moon be gone? You ever been around an Israelite that couldn't wait for the Sabbath day to be over so that they can get back to doing their own business? That's what some people do. They say, man, when is the new moon going to be gone so that we can do what?
That we may sell corn.
Why can't they sell corn on the new moon if the new moon is not a Sabbath day? Read.
And the Sabbath, that we may set forth wheat, making the ephah small.
Right, so you see he separated it. They ain't talking about the same Sabbath. He said, look, man, when's the new moon going to be gone so we can get back to selling and buying whatever we want? And then the Sabbath day when I can get back to some physical labor, getting this money. Go ahead.
That we may set forth wheat, making the ephah small, and the shekel great, and falsifying the balances by deceit.
Right, so we can see that obviously the Sabbath, the new moon is a Sabbath, and there's also another one in the book of Samuel, I believe. 1 Samuel. Actually, it is 1 Chronicles chapter 23 and verse 31.
First Chronicles chapter 23, verse 31. And to offer all burnt sacrifices unto the Lord in the Sabbath.
It says in the Sabbaths, because there's more than just one Sabbath. Some people don't understand that. The 7-day Sabbath is a Sabbath. A new moon is a Sabbath. The Day of Tabernacles, the Feast of Tabernacles, is also a Sabbath. Pentecost is the Sabbath day. So there's many Sabbath days. These are days of rest. So go ahead.
And and to offer all burnt sacrifices unto the Lord in the Sabbaths and the new moons.
Why would they mention the new moons? Go ahead.
And on the set feasts by number.
Exactly, because all of these things are Sabbath days. Go ahead.
According to the order commanded unto them continually before the Lord.
Read.
And that they should keep the charge of the tabernacle of the congregation and the charge of the holy place and the charge of the sons of Aaron, their brethren.
Because all of these things were charged, especially to the Levites, because they had a whole lot to do on these Sabbath days. They was responsible for getting all of the different sacrifices, peace offerings, drink offerings from the children of Israel and presenting that to the Most High. So for people to say it's not a Sabbath, there's no other scripture that says the new moon is not a Sabbath. You know?
Okay.
Well, I hope that answered the question, though. Nothing on Facebook. Facebook not showing no love tonight. What's going on, Israel? Ask your questions. Ask your questions.
Can brothers explain what the difference between the fringes y'all wear and the Jewish tassels?
You want to start off with that one?
Come on, let's go back to Numbers chapter 15. So, let's see. In short, there are specifics with fringes, right? They're supposed to serve a purpose as for us to be able to look at them, but they also have to have a particular look. The Most High commanded specifics as to the ordinances of fringes, right? Start at verse 38.
Numbers chapter 15, verse 38. Speak unto the children of Israel, and bid them that they make them fringes in the borders of their garments throughout their generations, and that they put upon the fringe of the borders a ribbon of blue.
So, for one, a lot of people use Deuteronomy 22 and 12, and I believe it says the four corners of your vesture, right? And they say, they take zitzits and they literally put them in the four corners of your shirt. This one says borders, right? A border is just the surrounding area. So it's not necessarily literally a corner, and it has to be split in four pieces. It has to be around the border, right? And then he says, and that you put on that fringe of the borders a ribbon of blue. And they're called zitzits. With zitzits, there is nowhere that ribbon is applied. Some people tie it, on the top. Some people have a strand that runs through it. I've never really seen zitzits be even set up to be properly in adherence to this law, to where they have a ribbon of blue upon them and that they're around the vesture or around the borders. So that's the main thing. It's not, what do you call that? That's one of the main key differences. There's nowhere for that ribbon on those zitzits.
That's one of the main things. And then also, too, not to just forget, history is something that plays a big part with our people as well. Learning who we are, looking back at our ancient customs is one of the things that we're able to use to help substantiate some of our other doctrines that we teach, as far as like how to calculate our feast days and things like that. The Most High has been gracious enough to leave these things in history for us to find through archaeology and all type of different things that's being brought out, right? And the scriptures talk about that. When you look into the history of our people, you don't see zitzits as one of the more famous things that our people wore. I'm not one of those Israelites that be like, you ain't going to find no pictures of us wearing it, because you probably will. But just because you see that doesn't make it right, You can see Israelites, in the times of old with dealing with the hexagram, or what some people call the lily or the Star of David. It doesn't mean it was right. Our people, the Most High didn't give us these things, even though sometimes we dealt with these different things, right, being influenced by the other nations. Another point to bring out to why we wear the fringes, how we wear them, in Leviticus chapter 19, verse 27, if you can get that for me. Because sometimes there's so much emphasis made on certain words like corners and things that Shamar was talking about, right?
Leviticus chapter 19, verse 27. Ye shall not round the corners of your heads.
Where's the corners of our heads at that we're not supposed to round? we know that the Most High is saying that you're not supposed to be balding and tearing up the hairline that I gave you, dealing with the whole area of your head. It's no different with your garment and your vesture. He said, look, your borders are the four corners of your garment. I'm dealing with the whole thing that you're wearing. Make sure that there's fringes on it, right? Another. You got something? Oh, okay, Con. So not only getting into how the scriptures say the fringe is supposed to be laid on the actual vesture, right, with the blue ribbon upon it, you also have. Get that for me in Matthew, dealing with Christ. Yeah, I believe it's chapter 10. Because Christ also wore fringes, right? Yeah, I got it, though. I'm going to pull it up. And then also, too, the definition for ZZ, right? Or not ZZ, but when you're dealing with the word fringes in the scriptures, you got the Strong's H6734 ZZ. It says a floral or wing-like projection that is a lock of a hair or a tassel. You know, there's so much emphasis put on the tassel part, but not even knowing most fringes, right, especially like the bouillon type of fringe, those are still tassels within the fringes that you have. It's not the literal four that you see our people wearing, right? But go ahead and get that.
Matthew chapter 9 and verse 20.
Uh-huh.
And behold, a woman which was diseased with an issue of blood 12 years came behind him and touched the hem of his garment.
So we dealing with him, right? Let me get the actual definition of him. It says the edge of a piece of cloth or clothing which has been turned under and sewn. When you look at images of a hem, you don't see anything to do with the tassels that our people wear, right? Because we know that the way our fringes are worn, they're attached on the hem all the way around the vesture. And then let's get the definition of hem in the concordance. You got that? Go ahead.
It's G2899, a fringe or tassel.
You see, and they're used interchangeably because when they're looking like this or your natural fringe, they're still tassels. It's all one and the same, and some people get caught up because two different words are used, but we got to remember, by the time we get to the book of Deuteronomy, the law is just being repeated, right? So that's all for that.
Can you explain what a gird is and what it represents?
Well, a gird is just a garment, right? And we have this scripture here. Give me Jeremiah. I want two scriptures. Jeremiah chapter. Yeah, that one, and then I'm going to get this one right here in the Apocrypha. 1 second. 1 second. All right, go ahead.
Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 4.
Uh-huh.
And thou, even thyself, shall discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee.
Uh-huh.
And I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not. For ye have kindled a fire in mine anger, which shall burn forever.
So what you see our people getting back to is our culture. You can clearly see in the scriptures, the Most High said he was going to discontinue us from our heritage. We have went so long without practicing any of the culture and things that our people practice that we read about in the scriptures. Now, we can see that our forefathers wore long robes and beautiful garments. You can read about the priest garments. So when you see brothers getting back to, wearing robes and tunics, all we're doing is getting back to our culture. And then give me 1 Maccabees chapter 14 and 9. Because we can see also that the garments that we wear, we know some people like to clown and make fun, talking about we look like Power Rangers and things like that. But you don't ever say that to the East Indians when they all royally dressed up, right? You don't say that to the Africans when they get dressed up. 1 Maccabees chapter 14 and verse 9.
1 Maccabees chapter 14 And verse 9.
Because our people, we took pride in what we wore, especially when it was keeping the commandments of the Most High. It's talked about Christ said he had a golden girdle on, a robe down to the foot. You know he had some fat fringes on. Go ahead.
The ancient men sat all in the streets, communing together of good things, and the young men put on glorious and warlike apparel.
You see that? So the garments and the girds that you see brothers wearing nowadays, these is glorious and warlike apparel. This is something that our people should be happy to see, right? Our people was more excited to see our men wearing heels and mini skirts instead of wearing what our forefathers wore, the customs of our own people. So that's the whole situation with girds and garments. It's just our people getting back to our culture.
If a woman is unclean due to childbirth at the time of Passover, would it be unlawful to be around congregants but not at the Passover?
No, it wouldn't be unlawful to be around congregants. Being unclean is not a sin. You know, you're not going to cause someone to sin just by being unclean and you touching them. The issue with Passover is that's one of the holy feast days, and you're actually dealing with a holy item. So if you were at the Passover unclean, touching people, making them unclean, then you're putting them in a situation where they can't partake of the Passover, right? So it's not wrong to be around people if you're unclean, but you cannot attend or be around people on their way to the Passover. And then, I mean, I don't think we have to get the scriptures on that. The scriptures just say in Leviticus, I believe chapter 14, going into a woman and many different uncleannesses, you just have to wash yourself and you'll be unclean until the even. Once that new day starts, then you'll be clean.
Our brother asked, was Cornelius an Israelite?
Was Cornelius an Israelite? Yes. Yes, he was. Go to Zechariah chapter 7 and verse 14.
Zechariah chapter 7 and verse 14. But I scattered them with a whirlwind among all the nations whom they knew not. Thus the land was desolate after them, that no man passed through nor returned.
So we can't forget, our people were scattered everywhere. I mean, the fact, even in the New Testament, you see Paul traveling to all these different areas and all the different people that he was coming across. Some of these people were Israelites, right? What are you doing in Ephesus? What are you doing in parts of Greece? What are you doing in Thessalonica, right? All these different countries our people were dispersed to, and you can even see in the book of Acts chapter 2. Let's get that. Chapter 2, and you can start at where it picks up. Start at verse 5.
Acts chapter 2 and verse 5. And there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven.
You see that? These is devout men. What are they devout to? The Most High. Can somebody of another nation, because that's a question that needs to be answered, can somebody of another nation really be devout to the Most High in large numbers? Because you see that in the scriptures where you had certain people like Ruth, right? She was a heathen, a woman of another nation, but she loved the children of Israel so much she was keeping the Most High's commandments. And that's what all the nations are supposed to be when Israel is in command. But when we're dealing with these people right here in the New Testament, these devout men, these were Jews, right? Go ahead.
Out of every nation under heaven. Now when this was noised abroad, the multitude came together and were confounded, because that every man heard them speak in his own language. And they were all amazed and marveled, saying one to another, Behold, are not all these which speak Galileans? And how hear we make every man in our own tongue, wherein we were born? Parthians and Medes and Elamites, and the dwellers in Mesopotamia, and in Judea, and Cappadocia, and Pontus, and Asia.
So you can see all these different areas our people are scattered to. So when we start reading about certain people in different areas, we shouldn't be too, confused about whether or not this person could be an Israelite, because the scriptures are clear. So let's jump over to the book of Acts, chapter 10, and start at verse 1.
Acts chapter 10 and verse 1. There was a certain man in Caesarea called Cornelius, a centurion of the band called the Italian band.
Right, so you got this man, he's in a high position within the authorities, right? Go ahead.
A devout man.
A devout man. We just got done reading about devout men, and these men that were devout were Jews. Go ahead.
A devout man and one that feared God.
One that feared God. Go ahead.
With all his house. Which gave much alms to the people and prayed to God always.
Does the Most High hear sinners? According to the scriptures, no, right? Let's prove that. I believe it's John. John chapter 9, verse 31. And I'm not going to go super in depth. I think we'll have to do a lesson on this coming up. But just to give you a few precepts, just to give you some slight understanding on Cornelius.
John chapter 9, verse 31. Now we know that God heareth not sinners.
The Most High does not hear sinners. Where do you even read in the Bible about heathens that was praying to the Most High and their whole house and giving alms continually? Where do you read that about any of the other nations? Go ahead.
But if any man be a worshiper of God and doeth his will, him he heareth.
Exactly. Go to Psalm chapter 147, verse 19.
Psalms chapter 147, verse 19. He showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel.
You see, this is what was given unto Israel. That's our portion. And that's why Cornelius was so locked in like how he was, because this man was an Israelite. Go ahead.
He hath not dealt so with any nation.
And so the Most High, he's not sitting there answering the prayers of the heathens and things like that. He's not worried about them. Read.
And as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord.
Go to the book of Acts, chapter 22, and verse 12.
Acts chapter 22 and verse 12. And one Ananias, a devout man according to the law.
Here we go, dealing with another devout man according to the law. That's the only way the Most High is considering somebody devout. He don't care if you devout to the world and sinning. Go ahead.
Having a good report of all the Jews which dwelt there.
Just another example of a devout Israelite man. Let's go back to Acts chapter 10, and let's pick up at verse 3. So it said this man was a devout man, one that feared the Most High. That means he kept the commandments. We know according to 2nd Esdras, right? It says the heathen have not been found with your precepts, but Israel by name have kept your commandments. Go ahead.
Acts chapter 10 and verse 3. He saw in a vision, evidently about the 9th hour of the day, an angel of God coming in to him, and saying unto him, Cornelius. And when he looked on him, he was afraid, and said, What is it, Lord? And he said unto him, Thy prayers and thine alms are come up for a memorial before God.
Watch this. Let's go to the book of Psalm, chapter 148.
Psalms chapter 148, verse 14. He also exalteth the horn of his people, the praise of all his saints, even of the children of Israel, a people near unto him. Praise ye the Lord.
Praise ye the Lord. So we can see how the Most High is dealing with his children. Where have you ever seen the Most High sending heavenly angels and good visions to the heathens? You don't see that, right? Let's go back to that Acts.
10.
Yeah. Actually, no, that's all I wanted from there. Give me Proverbs chapter 28 and 9, and then Revelation 8 and 4. We're going to leave it at that.
Proverbs chapter 28, verse 9. He that turneth away his ear from hearing the law, even his prayer shall be abomination.
So that's important to know, because that just goes to show that Cornelius was keeping the commandments, and Israel is the one who keeps the Most High God's commandments. It says, and he said unto him, Thy prayers and thine alms are come up for a memorial before God. Well, according to Proverbs 28, the Most High wouldn't have been hearing this brother, right? Go to Revelation chapter 8 and verse 4.
Revelation chapter 8 and verse 4. And the smoke of the incense, which came with the prayers of the saints, ascended up before God out of the angel's hand.
So you can see that how the prayers of the saints, and the saints are the children of Israel, go up before the Most High God. So there's plenty more scriptures you could bring out to show Cornelius was an Israelite and a righteous Israelite at that. But again, there's just a brother who was scattered, living in a different land, different nation. Yeah. You got anything you want to add to that?
Good breakdown. Was Jezebel an Israelite?
Jezebel. Yeah, I believe she was an Israelite. If I'm not mistaken, she was wicked, but unless you know differently, I think Jezebel was an Israelite. If she wasn't, then my mistake for speaking bad. But we know she was definitely wicked. Let me see. Jezebel. We know her husband was an Israelite. Let me see. Oh, no, it says she was a Phoenician princess. So, no, it's possible she could have been a heathen, actually, which makes it even worse. But, yeah, I guess it says she was a Phoenician princess, so I guess not. Next question. Sure. Let's see. What about it bothered you? Right. Okay, definitely. And yeah, that's not a crazy thing either, because even the scriptures say people wrestle with Paul's writings, those who are unlearned and not keeping the commandments. So, that's one of the things we, unfortunately do battle with our people on. But you said Romans 3:7. I'll read it. It says, for if the truth of God hath more abounded through my lie unto his glory, why yet am I also judged as a sinner? And not rather as we being slanderously reported, and as some affirm that we say, let us do evil that good may come, whose damnation is just. Oh, okay, Con. Where you want me to start? Oh, okay, Con. Let me see. Let me just read a little bit above. Okay, so basically what this is getting into, start at verse 1.
Romans chapter 3 and verse 1. What advantage then hath the Jew, or what profit is there of circumcision?
So obviously we're dealing with our people that are in the place of Rome, and these are Israelites obviously who are scattered. And remember, the Israelites that were outside of the land of Judea were typically looked at as heathens, and there was a lot of backlash between what the Jews of Judea were doing compared to the Israelites who were scattered abroad and who were waking up to who they were. So go ahead.
Much every way. Chiefly because that unto them were committed the oracles of God.
So he's building them up like, look, dude, you sitting here wondering like, man, is this something I should really be doing? What is there to gain by being an Israelite? He said everything in every much way, because the scriptures, first and foremost, was given unto us. Read. That means all the promises, all the covenants. Go ahead.
Verse 3, for what if some did not believe?
So what if some people didn't believe what it is we doing is the truth? Because that was the situation with the Jews in the land of Judea. They didn't believe that what Paul was doing with the heathens, right? The Gentiles, those scattered Israelites, was something that was according to the law. So they saying, look, what if some didn't believe? Go ahead.
Shall their unbelief make the faith of God without effect?
Just because they don't believe in what we're doing, does that mean we not fulfilling the scriptures? Or does that mean God is a lie? Go ahead.
God forbid.
It says, hell no. Read.
Yea, let God be true, but every man a liar.
Go ahead.
As it is written, that thou mayest be justified in thy sayings, and mightest overcome when thou art judged.
Because we know through keeping the commandments, we're gonna overcome death. Go ahead.
But if our unrighteousness commend the righteousness of God, what shall we say? Is God unrighteous who taketh vengeance? I speak as a man. God forbid. For then, how shall God judge the world?
Right. So they saying, look, they looking at what we doing as unrighteousness, but our unrighteousness is complementing what God said in his word. So he says, so if they didn't believe, so what? Go ahead.
For if the truth of God hath more abounded through my lie.
Because that's what they basically saying Paul was. Like, you lying. What you doing is not really upright. But they saying my lie is making the Most High's truth abound. Right? Because that's how they looking at it. Go ahead.
For if the truth of God hath more abounded through my lie unto his glory, why yet am I also judged as a sinner?
Because it gets to a point, it's like, man, you see all this work I'm doing, all the fruits I'm bearing, you sitting here treat me as if I'm a sinner. How come the Most High not treat me like a sinner? Why am I getting so many blessings and reaping the rewards of the work we doing? So that's what it's getting into. And that was one of the biggest controversies with Paul. And you can see some of the extents he had to go to, like showing people like, man, I'm taking the vow of a Nazarite to show you guys I'm really, really an Israelite. I'm not trying to change anything, because his profession before that, he was persecuting the Christian church, which was the early Israelite organizations, right? So that's what that's getting into, bro. Nope. Darash asked earlier, do brothers have any historical information on Christ? We actually do. Unfortunately, I don't have that with me today, but I'm pretty sure we can put that up, because it's something that does need to be gone into for all the skeptics. We can get a class to go into the validity of Christ. We've done one years ago, but I'm not sure if we still have that video. But yeah, there's a gang of historical proof that shows Christ was here, from people that was here after him and people that was even here a little bit before him, that lived longer than him after he died. So there's definitely more than enough proof. But I'm sorry I don't have that to present to you right now. We'll go ahead and wait a few minutes for some more questions to come through. If nothing, then we will go ahead and get ready to close out. We do appreciate everything you guys are contributing to tonight's topic. All the questions have been great. And we hope that, every month it gets even more and more hype, more people come by. What I'm really hoping is that, you guys are sending these type of classes to your friends and family who are still in the Christian church, still in the Catholic church. Because the truth is, when you're inside the Christian church, you can't ask a lot of your questions. You can't interrupt pastor's sermon. You can't interrupt the piano man. It's going to be a problem. You're going to mess up their money. But, we're not operating like that. This is a platform we have for all those who say they really believe in the Bible and they looking for the true doctrine of Jesus Christ and how to receive salvation. Man, this is the place to ask your questions. We don't know it all, but man, what's important, which is the law, we try our best to study that and be able to give a righteous answer accordingly. And it's important that more of these classes, and I'm hoping more of our brothers and sisters in different organizations also have these type of classes so we can continue to edify our people. It's a lot of information our people do not know. And that's why I actually like this one scripture. Give me the book of Isaiah, and I believe it's 39:6. One of my favorite scriptures. 49:6, excuse me.
Isaiah chapter 49, verse 6.
Uh-huh.
And he said, it is a light thing that thou shouldest be my servant.
So, man, God said it should be a light thing for us to be a servant to the Most High God. Like, think about it this way. Some of our people be so happy to land their dream job working at whatever company. It's like, dude, you're excited to go and work for that company. Why would you not be even more excited to serve the one true living God? Read.
It is a light thing that thou shouldest be my servant to raise up the tribes of Jacob.
And that's the thing. The business that we're in, we're literally restoring and building up our people. People have been lied to for so many years. We are now providing them the truth, the thing the only thing that's going to get our people back right. Most High said this should be a light thing. Read.
And to restore the preserved of Israel.
And to restore the preserved of Israel. Like I said, there's so much information our people don't know. The simple questions. And here we are in a space to now we're restoring all that information that was taken from us, that's been hidden from us, and we giving it to our people freely, starting the real revolution, which is so-called blacks and Latinos and Native Americans repenting. Our people marching, holding up signs, talking about please don't shoot. There's no power in that. There's power in our people waking up and keeping these commandments. Go ahead.
I will also give thee for a light to the Gentiles, that thou mayest be my salvation unto the end of the earth.
Exactly, because we're going to be an example of righteousness to everybody, especially the Gentiles of our people who are still lost in the ways of this world and the customs of this world, right? So it's a beautiful business that we in, y'all. And I'm hoping that, you know, through us laboring and putting out these type of videos, some of y'all are getting inspired. Because I know that's how it was for me. When I first came into this truth, I didn't know nothing but Deuteronomy chapter 28, and I was going hard on everybody. I said, look, it says it right here, man. We went into slavery right here. And, you know, and I saw other brothers teaching and inspired me like, man, I want to do that. So I hope that these lessons and classes that we hold are inspiring y'all to go out and provoke y'all to good work, because that's what it's about, you know? So,
How is Passover celebrated?
Okay, let's go to book of Leviticus, chapter 23. And then we'll go to First Ezra. You can get that Leviticus first, though.
Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 4. These are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their seasons.
Go ahead.
And the 14th day of the first month at even.
So this is the 15th day of the month. It says it is what?
Is the Lord's Passover.
It is the Lord's Passover. Go ahead.
And on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto the Lord. 7 days ye must eat unleavened bread.
Right. So that's one of the components of Passover is unleavened bread. That's one of the ways we celebrate it. Now, the main difference is the Passover that you read about in the book of Exodus, it's not celebrated the exact same as today. In the book of Exodus, they didn't have a chance to sit down, eat, dance, and drink. They had to hurry up and get up out of there because the death angel, right, had went over, did what they did, and then they had to flee Egypt. But now the way we celebrate it is similar to how King Josiah celebrated, because now it's a memorial. Let's go over to First Ezra and chapter 1, verse 6.
First Ezra chapter 1, verse 6. Offer the Passover in order, and make ready the sacrifices for your brethren, and keep the Passover according to the commandment of the Lord, which was given unto Moses. And unto the people that was found there, Josiah gave 30,000 lambs and kids, and 3,000 calves. These things were given of the king's allowance, according as he promised to the people, to the priests, and to the Levites. And Hilkiah, Zacharias, and Silas, the governors of the temple, gave to the priests for the Passover 2,600 sheep.
So you can see it's a huge feast. Drop down and read verse 13.
Verse 13. And set them before all the people, and afterward they prepared for themselves and for the priests, their brethren, the sons of Aaron. For the priests offer the fat until night, and the Levites prepare for themselves, and the priests their brethren, the sons of Aaron.
Go ahead.
The holy singers also.
So you see we had singers at these Passovers. It's a grand event. We're sitting there celebrating what's to come, which is our people leaving this spiritual Egypt, right? And now that's just to show that, you know, it was a grand feast. And now we can get to the book of Exodus, chapter 12, to go over some of the ordinances of the Passover, because it says they kept it according to the law. And you can get chapter 12 and start at verse 48. So this is one of the things. The males must be circumcised.
Exodus chapter 12, verse 48. And when a stranger shall sojourn with thee, and will keep the Passover to the Lord, let all his males be circumcised. And then let him come near and keep it. And he shall be as one that is born in the land. For no uncircumcised person shall eat thereof.
So no uncircumcised person can eat of the Passover. You have to be circumcised. Verse 12, also read up and start at verse 5.
Exodus 12 and 5. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year.
Uh-huh.
Ye shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats.
So you can't have no sickly lamb, right? They got cancer, it's getting ready to fall out. It's got to be pure. Go ahead.
And ye shall keep it unto the 14th day of the same month, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening.
Uh-huh.
And they shall take of the blood and strike it on the two side posts and on the upper door posts of the houses, wherein they shall eat it. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire.
So you always make sure that you roast the lamb with fire. Read.
And unleavened bread.
And there's unleavened bread. Go ahead.
And with bitter herbs.
And with bitter herbs. This is how we're commanded to keep the Passover. Go ahead.
They shall eat it. Eat not of it raw, nor sodden at all with water, but roast with fire, his head with his legs, and with the pertinence thereof.
And that's actually how we roast our lamb today, and how many others also do it. And then last thing, go over to Exodus 13 and verse 4. And it just lets you know which month we did this in, which is the first month of the year.
Exodus chapter 13 and verse 4. This day came ye out in the month of Abib.
Right, so all this is taking place in the very first month. That's the very first thing we're going to be celebrating that month. That's big, Passover. All right? So all praises, Israel? Yeah, all praise be to the Most High, Israel. Thank everybody for tuning in, participating, asking y'all questions. We will be back next month, so if there's things that we didn't get to for whatever reason, we apologize. If there's things you want us to answer better, then ask it again next time. This has been a great Q&A. Again, my name is Yashamai, and that was Shamar. Shalom, Israel.
Shalom.